you need to be quiet. I think that I don't know if your bias is so ridiculous that you're twisting yourself in pretzels here, or if you just don't understand what I'm saying. Because I know so much of the lawfare against Trump you're totally for. You don't give a fuck.
Well, I don't care about the tweet actually. I actually that is what I wanted to talk about. So because I thought so I know like the stuff with the Russiagate stuff. Yeah, I'm willing to give that to you because yeah, there's just it doesn't seem like there's ever information on it when I look it up and when I try to find like what the fuck is going on with those FBI lawyers, like I never find anything. So I'm totally willing to give that to you. But the other part that you brought up as a piece of lawfare against Trump was the classified documents case.
Sure.
And I'm wondering what did you think was lawfare in that?
Would you agree with this? That if there are multiple people committing the same crime at a political level, but there's only selective targeting of one political aisle, that would be lawfare.
I like depending, but like it would look like it, yes.
So, for example, the classified documents case, we know when it came to the classified documents that Joe Biden had classified documents, Hillary Clinton's team had classified documents. Were either of them charged?
Mm-hmm. No,
Why wasn't Biden charged?
because he cooperated and did what they asked and
How did
answered
he
all their
cooperate?
questions and gave the he gave the documents back when they asked for them.
Who
He answered
asked?
the questions that they asked. The who asked him
Yeah.
for the documents?
Yes.
The National Archives.
NARA, National Records Archive. Why did they start immediately? By the way, the guy that ran it was a guy that was like tweeting out hashtag resist. Why did like day one did that guy say immediately he was looking at boxes, Trump was coming out and was skeptical, but they never had that skepticism with Biden, any of these other people?
Um, so the with Trump, they had already asked for the documents for a while, and he
Yes,
wasn't
they
giving them
started
back.
day one.
And then
And he was complying. He let the FBI in. You're aware that two FBI agents said in internal communications they thought it was absurd and political that they were raiding Trump, Mar-a-Lago.
I didn't. I read that they had asked him numerous times to give the records back. That sometimes they said, "Okay, we'll give them back." Other times they wouldn't answer or call them back. Other times they said, "We don't have any classified documents." Then once they raided and got them, they said, "Is there anything else?" They said, "No, this is everything." They said, "You're sure?" They said, "Yes." Okay. And then after they got another tip that there were more, they had to come back. And then it turns out there were more. And then they arrested the lawyer for lying about whether or not they gave all of them to them. And that, yes, over and over, every time they had communications, they did
What had
everything
happens is
to
all of these
avoid them.
people. What had happens is that NARA is political, much like all these other groups. They had an axe to grind with Trump, so they immediately said, "We demand this, we demand this, we demand this, we demand this." There were serious disputes about what Trump was allowed to keep and what he wasn't. He kept giving access. Eventually, they decided that
Yeah.
they were going to the FBI and they were going to raid. They conducted the raid in such a way you would expect. We'll go through some questions. Would you expect that, seeing as how they're raiding a former president's house in an unprecedented action, that they would be very meticulous to make sure that like all the I's were dotted and T's crossed?
You would think so, yeah.
And yet the raid was so expansive that they were actually taking things like souvenir ball bats, napkins, passports, things of that nature. Then, for a show, they laid out documents in a way that they weren't to make it appear that this is how they were and snapped photos of them, which they released to the public. Do you think that the FBI should be doing things like that?
No, some of the stuff with the media was a little confusing because even before they raided, I believe that they went ahead and called the media, and the media was like they're
Hmm.
waiting, watching the raid happen, I believe.
Wow, it's weird that when, for the first time that we can think of in history, they're raiding the home of a former president and likely to be frontrunner for candidate for president again, and the FBI under the person that would be his opponent, Joe Biden, is basically making a big media circus out of it. But it doesn't seem political at all, right?
No, I hold on. The way that they handle things can seem as though they are making a show out of it. But the difference between Biden, Hillary, and Trump, and even Obama, like the difference is something that I do think is worth charging him over and not them, because it does seem to be a pretty common thing that a lot of people take things that they're not supposed to take. And even the National Archives said, oh, normally with this stuff with like some of these other people, we normally wouldn't care about this, but because Trump is like making all of this difficult, this may turn into some sort of legal action in the future if he still refuses to help.
What if?
And so we're gonna have to do more in-depth like
Okay,
investigations into all of these people because Trump is doing this.
Okay, so let's ask ourselves this. Let's say Nara never asked, but Trump immediately sees and knows that he has material that he's supposed to turn in, and he doesn't. Right? Would you say that he's cooperating?
No.
You would say that that would still be him intentionally hiding this evidence, and he knows that he's supposed to turn it in?
It would seem that way, depending on like more details.
Well,
but
if you read the Her report into Biden, he knew when he was talking to his ghostwriter in like 2017 that he had classified documents about Afghanistan in his garage. He said it on tape. He never turned them in.
Right.
Instead, his cooperation was as follows. Nara never asked, suspiciously. They only asked about Trump. They never asked about any of this stuff with Biden. He even had documents from when he was a senator. There's not even an argument to be made that he's allowed to have those. So unlike with the president, that there's an argument to be had that he's basically allowed to take what he wants, you might disagree with that, but there's an argument. There's no argument that as a senator. Yet Biden had those documents. He knew he had them. He said on tape that he knew he had them, and he never turned them in. In fact, he only started cooperating after his DOJ went after Trump. And then they realized, oh shit, Biden's committed the same crime that Trump did, so now he'll cooperate. That would be the equivalent.
Well, I literally
of
just said that. I literally just said
right.
that they had to like do more investigations into more people because of the fact that they were having to like press Trump on this, that they were having to get like.
So you previously said Biden cooperated, but you just gave the rationale for why he didn't.
No, wait, what do you mean?
You just said, well, if Nara never contacted Trump, but Trump knew he had classified documents and still didn't hand them over, that's not him cooperating. And I said, okay, that's exactly what happened with Biden. He knew for years that he had years earlier that he had classified documents. He never cooperated to hand them in. He only did when it was politically expedient.
Not the same thing.
You just said that's not cooperation.
You said I didn't know. I thought you were saying if they're asking for them.
I specifically said, and Nara never asked for them.
Oh, I'm sorry. If you said that, I totally missed it. I know. I do think that they should. Yes, I do think they should, but that's obviously when we're talking about whether or not somebody like cooperates with somebody. If I know that like a crime happened, but I don't go to the police immediately, obviously nobody's going to say I didn't cooperate because I waited until the police were investigating and knocked on my door. And then every question they asked, I answered all their questions. They would obviously consider that me cooperating with them.
What it would be, it'd be the equivalent of this.
Say me and you cooperate because he didn't go rat them out.
Me and you rob a store together, right? And then years later, you run for mayor, and I'm running against you, and you become mayor, and I'm running against you, right? And you direct your sheriffs to come raid my house because I stole from this store. And so then once I'm in handcuffs and I'm having trouble running against you, you go, oh, and by the way, I stole too, but now I'm cooperating. That's what happened. Joe Biden only cooperated and they only asked for this shit after he had already gone after, or his administration already went after their political opponent for the same crime. That's what happened. And can you show me in the law where it says, well, if you cooperate, it's okay? Can you show me that?
Well, first off, I don't agree that that's the same because Biden had about 100 documents. Trump had well over 300, maybe over 400, and the documents that he had, one, we know that he was bragging to like a journalist about the fact that he wasn't supposed to have them and that these were top secret. That's not
what happened. Can you tell me the exact quote?
I don't remember the exact quote, but
he waved something. They didn't see it. He said, I probably shouldn't show you this. It was something to the equivalent of that, right? Or I'm not supposed to.
Yeah, I think he says I'm not supposed to show anybody.
Biden, the Her report said that he not only told his ghostwriter who didn't have classified clearance, told him that he had classified stuff. He then proceeded, said, this is probably classified, I shouldn't read it, then read it to him, and then, believe it or not, the statute says this is more of a crime. He physically showed him the material. Let him read it. Unlike Trump didn't do that. So
I thought Trump did show it to him.
No, he waved it in the air. He didn't let them read it. He waved it in the air. We don't even know if it actually was classified or if it was just him big manning it. We do know, because he was forced to admit, Biden's ghostwriter, who, by the way, once he found out that there was an investigation, you know what he did? Deleted all of his tapes. Oh, but he didn't get charged with that. That wasn't obstruction, right? But then when he was forced to recover summons, trust me, bro, I recovered them all. Yeah, we could see in the transcript that Biden was basically this is probably classified, I shouldn't read it to you, read it to him, then gave it to him. So actually what Biden did was worse. Now, the next thing you said that was worse with Trump,
report, they say it isn't. They literally
no, that's not. Her can say what he wants. In that specific instance of that defense that you're giving, that's worse.
He is the one who investigated it. So yes,
I don't give a
shit.
I don't give a shit. In this specific incident, you just said Trump showed people. I just gave you an example of Biden showing people worse. Now, the next example that you gave. And by the way, my whole argument is there's a double standard on these investigators. So your answer is going to be even though your own logic shows that you're wrong, that it was worse for Biden in this instance than Trump. Yeah, but the investigators said that it wasn't. Right, I'm saying there's a double standard with the investigators. Next, your next argument was, well, the volume of it. Trump had 300, Biden only had 100. That may be true, but the volume's sort of irrelevant. The question would be, is there a potential legal case that could be made that Trump was allowed to have his documents? Yes or no?
There is a legal argument that he could possibly have them if they were declassified.
How about Biden?
Yeah.
Is there a potential legal case for all of his documents?
Probably not. No.
Right, because some of them from when he was a senator. Now, the VP ones would probably still fall under the same declassification shenanigans as the president, but not those Senate ones. Mm-hmm. So there's no excuse for Biden to have them. And even if you think it's a flimsy excuse for Trump to have them, at least there was a potential legal argument. So now we have, when it comes to the showing...
I don't think there's a problem with any of them actually having them. I think that it's normal for people to take classified documents home, especially Trump, because he spent about half of his presidency at Mar-a-Lago. And so it makes sense that when people go on vacations, when they go home, when they're working from home, they lots of times have to take stuff with them, and then maybe they just forget to take them back. But that obviously that's not good. They should take them back, but that's an understandable thing that seems to be common practice. It's once they are trying to get them back and trying to get them, that they don't seem to arrest people for it. Do you see how But I don't know that there's so far really none of this seems to be he's not cooperating. The one thing that you brought up was the recordings that were deleted from the book.
Yes.
But were those deleted after they started an investigation?
Yes,
then they deleted it, even though they had the recordings for a long time before?
Correct. Yes, that's exactly what happened. That's what it says in her report. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, next, about obstruction of justice. Not only do we have that there, particularly, but that's one of the big things that they say makes Trump guilty, right? He told his assistant, Nada, to move boxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did they get those boxes back?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if we look at the investigation in Hillary Clinton, also had classified material, right?
Yes.
Congress subpoenaed it.
Assuming...
Congress lawfully subpoenaed that classified material, correct?
I believe so, yes.
After that occurred, Hillary's team deleted emails that were subpoenaed.
Mm-hmm.
Were those emails ever recovered?
No.
Were they charged with obstruction of justice?
No.
Care to explain?
The same thing. In this case, they didn't actually have like classified documents that the
How do you
people
know?
needed.
We don't. They
They
never
wanted
got the.
to.
Well, no. Wait a second. It doesn't matter if they're classified or not if they're subpoenaed. All of these emails were subpoenaed.
Sure. No. I agree. I'm just separating like different types of things where like obviously in the case of Trump, we do know that these are things that they want and that they say that they need within the archives. Whereas with Hillary, like you said, we don't know. But
No, bullshit. These are
know
things.
that there
It
are.
doesn't matter if they were classified or not. These was a lawful subpoena. These things were wanted.
That's
They
what
were
I just said.
subpoenaed.
That's what I'm. That's
Okay,
what I
so
said.
then,
That's
so
what I
then
said.
your
I was
distinction
just
is
separating the two.
your distinction makes no
I'm
material
separating them.
difference.
No. It does. I'm separating them as far as like the investigations go. But yes, as far as like the subpoena goes, yes, obviously they need them for the subpoena.
Okay, so in one hand, we have they subpoenaed documents with Trump. They didn't get them when they wanted. They're accused of being moved but not destroyed, but they eventually get them. In Hillary's case, they subpoena them. They are physically destroyed and never recovered. One guy's charged with obstruction of justice. One team's charged with obstruction. The other team isn't. Can you explain why?
No, I cannot explain.
Okay. So then maybe when you're questioning if lawfare occurs or not, maybe you should do a little more digging into this stuff.
Well, sure, but I can come up with like reasonable explanations for these things that
Let's
I
hear
think
it.
are
Go for it. Let's hear one.
with Hillary, but I don't know. So like they find out that they're not supposed to have the emails because that was her excuse, right? I didn't even know that I wasn't allowed to do this. I don't understand technology. I don't understand the shit, right? So that's her excuse, is that she doesn't even know about it. So they find out that they're not supposed to have these. They go ahead and delete it. These get subpoenaed. They tell them after, hey, we already deleted all this shit.
That's not
We're
what
not
happened.
like
That's not what
we
happened.
just got rid of
It's
it.
been admitted by Paul Combetta, the guy that did it, that he. You want me to tell you what he says? This is what he testified to. That he gets the subpoena.
Sure. 'Cause
Okay, he gets the
ahead.
subpoena, right? Gets the subpoena, and then days later he's driving to work. And I'm not making this up. This is what it happened. He said he had a quote, "oh shit" moment, where he remembered that 6 months ago he was told to delete this stuff before the subpoena. And so even though he knew it was subpoenaed and he knew it was against the law to delete it, he got into work and decided to delete it because he was told 6 months ago. That's his excuse.
Wait, you just said before the subpoena. Now you're saying.
Let me re-explain. His excuse is, I forget the month, so let's say it's January. He walks into work one day and they say, "Paul, delete everything." He says, "okay." He goes home, he forgets to delete it. January, February, March, April, May. Now it's June. All of a sudden, the biggest professional incident of his career. He's the tech guy. They contact him. "My God, all the records we have, they've been subpoenaed. You must send them." "Yes, ma'am. I'll do that." He's driving to work. "Okay, got to comply with the subpoena." "Wow, this is crazy. It's a pretty crazy thing for my job to have to comply." "Wait a minute. 6 months ago, I was supposed to delete this shit. Even though I know there's a subpoena, I'll go to work and delete it today."
Oh, he was supposed to delete them before, but he didn't, and so
Correct.
now he's deleting them after they get an order to
Correct.
preserve.
And he knew that there was a subpoena. That's as clear cut of a
Okay.
case of obstruction of justice as you'll ever find. Why wasn't he charged?
I apparently they didn't have enough evidence from.
That's not true.
what
They
I-
have an evidence.
what I'm
They had his
reading is
admission.
that they. Well, from what I'm reading, he claimed pleaded the fifth on everything, but he did admit to deleting them somewhere. It doesn't tell me who he
Huh.
admitted this to.
So you
Do
can
you
come
know
up
who
with
he
any?
admitted it to?
You want? Yeah, the FBI admitted to the FBI. Do you want me to tell you what happened? And then you could say, "Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Sure, go
That's reasonable." What happened was, you see, well, let's sidetrack for a second. Did you ever watch like the First 48 or Law and Order or any shit like that? I love that shit. Did you ever watch any of it?
Not really. No, I can't stand
The
it.
Wire? Did you ever watch The Wire?
Oh, I love The Wire.
I was gonna say, stop talking to me and go watch the fucking Wire. I love The Wire too. So like,
Yeah, I love
you're
The
watching The
Wire.
Wire. This is how like they're going after Avon, right? Everyone watching that's never seen The Wire is gonna be like, "What the fuck are these two talking about?" So they're going after Avon. What's one of the things? This is like Police 101. What you do? You find a dealer that's like on the street, right? You're trying to get Avon Barksdale, but you get the low level guy that's on the street dealing, like one of the kids, and then you pinch him, and then you turn the screws on him, right?
Right.
You're looking at 10 years. And if you don't tell us who your supplier is, blah blah blah. That's how shit's normally done, right? That when they're going after the mob or they go after the low level people, they squeeze them and then hope that they flip. You would agree?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's how they did the Trump investigation, right? They went after Nada, they went after Paul Manafort, they went after low-level people like George Papadopoulos, Carter Page. You agree that's what they did?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they wanted them to flip on Trump.
Right.
The reason that the FBI didn't charge Paul Gambetta, you ready for this, is because they gave everyone immunity.
Right.
So they were like, they said, we suspected he was lying, but we were afraid that if we charged him, he'd clam up and plead the fifth. And we didn't just want to arrest a low-level guy. So instead, we gave him immunity. So he comes in and they say, okay, Paul, you got immunity. What do you want to say now? He said, it was all me. I had an oh shit moment. No one told you to delete anything? Nope, just me. I, who have just gotten immunity, I'm the only one who committed the crimes. And they're like, well, 2 days before you deleted it, you talked to Hillary's chief advisor, Cheryl Mills. What did you talk about? He said, I don't remember. And the FBI said, sounds good to us. So while they were going aggressively as possible after Trump.
Just real quick. Is the theory that, like, after they gave him immunity, there's likely some sort of conversation behind the scenes that says, hey, you go ahead and take the fall for this since you already have immunity, and then that way they can't get Clinton for this, and then they're just going to go ahead and there's nothing they can do now because you have immunity and you're the one who did it?
Any sort of theory is irrelevant to the facts that I just gave you. It doesn't matter what I suspect occurred. I suspect that probably he was told to delete this shit after the subpoena and didn't have an oh shit moment. And
well,
Hillary, if you want to hear what I suspect, if you want to hear what, listen, real quick, you asked, I'll give you my theory.
I understand, but I want to make sure you understand why. Because earlier you asked me why he wasn't charged, but now we know that he had immunity. And so I'm asking that because it seems as though you know why he wasn't charged. He already had immunity. And so
and I successfully predicted that you would say, then it's okay then, right?
That, well, if somebody has immunity, obviously.
Right. So what the FBI decided to do is the way they're going to get, when they're going after Trump, they'll squeeze low-level people. But when we're going after Hillary, we'll give the low-level people immunity. And then we're shocked when they're like, oh, I did it all myself. That'd be like if they're going after Trump and they're like, all right, Mike Flynn, you have immunity. Now, or Paul, Nada, you have immunity. You move these boxes. Here's full immunity. And he's like, okay. Now, what do you know? Yeah, I did it all myself. No one told me shit. But didn't you talk to Trump right before you moved those boxes? I don't remember what I said. Okay, sounds good. Huh, why didn't the FBI do that there? That's strange. Why is it that every single time when it came to Trump, they were as aggressive as possible, but when it comes to his opponents, they're as light as possible? So if you want to know my theory is that it is beyond the pale that Paul Gambetta had an oh shit moment after a subpoena and knowingly committed a felony by violating a subpoena because he was worried his boss would be angry because he didn't delete something 6 months earlier. I would say what's most likely is that he was probably told, probably in that meeting with Cheryl Mills, delete this shit. We don't want them getting this shit. Then when the FBI came at them, the FBI had an implicit agreement that Hillary knew that they weren't going to do shit to Hillary. Why? Because agents that were leading it, like Peter Strzok, wanted a, quote, insurance policy against Donald Trump. So they don't even have to coordinate after the fact. They were just like, don't worry, Paul, you're not going to get in shit. Don't worry, you know you won't. Then they came to Paul and said, yeah, you got immunity. And Paul was like, yeah, I did it all myself then. I'm not getting in any trouble. Yeah, thanks so much.
The difference between Gambetta and like Manafort or any of these other people is that those people were pretty sure and had a pretty strong hunch that they were complicit in some sort of crime and in some sort of cover-up. Whereas with this guy, he is just a tech. So it did make sense for them to give him immunity.
What the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? So first off, they already knew that he lied.
You're talking about like actual government operatives versus a fucking tech who works.
That's bullshit. Paul Gambetta had access to more classified information and shit like that than George Papadopoulos would have had access to shit. Yet they threw the fucking book at him, didn't they? Or Carter Page, that they got FISA warrants to spy on. So now your argument is,
Sure, but
well, Paul
hold on,
Manafort's
wait, but
high level.
those were not the people that we were comparing, though. We were comparing people like Manafort to people like Gambetta, and
Okay,
you're saying they're
let me
squeezing
dispense of all
Trump's
this.
people, but they're
let me
not
dispense.
squeezing her people.
Let me dispense. When I'm talking about squeezing people, I'm not talking about Manafort. I'm talking about Papadopoulos and Carter Page. Okay, now what's your excuse now?
I don't. I don't have a
Right, you
reason
don't
for
have a
that.
rationale. You
But
have to look up and
uh,
see what the Democrats said why it was okay. That's what you. That's
wait, wait, but that still aligns with the idea that you're saying they're going softer on people like Gambetta and Carter Page, and I'm saying that like yes, but when it comes to like yes, squeezing people and like actually not giving them immunity, but instead charging them to try to get them to
what.
rat on the top.
Okay,
person.
first
Then
off,
these
that's
going
that
off the
doesn't
whole
like
top.
I don't. You need to be quiet. I think that I don't know if your bias is so ridiculous that you're twisting yourself in pretzels here, or if you just don't understand what I'm saying. Would you say that Carter Page, Papadopoulos, and Gambetta are on similar scales of small fish?
No,
Okay, who's higher?
obviously Carter Page and
What was Carter
Papadopoulos.
Page's role? What were their rules? Go ahead.
I think Carter Page was in the FBI. I think he was an attorney for the FBI.
No, I don't think that's the case. I think they were low-level staffers on Trump's team. There were no
I'm
names.
sorry, I'm getting Carter Page mixed up with somebody else then. Um,
Carter Page, you might. Thank you, Nate G. Carter Page, you might remember. He was the guy that helped the CIA bust Russians that then Kevin Kleinsmith, the FBI lawyer, lied about to get a FISA warrant against Trump. That guy?
okay.
So will you
Yeah,
admit that they're
I
similarly
thought
low level?
I thought he was the one who, because there was obviously an FBI attorney who wrote the FISA warrant,
Kevin
who changed
Kleinsmith.
the emails, and for some reason, Kevin Klein's. That's who I'm. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
Carter
who I'm.
Page. No, Carter Page is the guy that the FISA warrant was directed at. Low level Trump guy, staffer. Same
That's right.
with Papadopoulos. So will you agree now that they're all
That's right.
similarly low level?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
In
So
some way, I guess like being a staffer is different than being a tech
sure,
person
it's
who doesn't
different, but
actually
they're
work for the
small
government. But
fish.
yeah,
They're small fish. Okay. So when it came to Papadopoulos, they threw the book at him. The crime they got him for was lying, which was basically misremembering a date. Right? He got a date wrong. Now the FBI admits that they knew that Paul Gambetta was lying to them, but they didn't charge him. Instead, they gave him immunity, but they gave Papadopoulos jail time. With Carter Page, they never gave jail time, but boy, they tried. They got 4 FISA warrants claiming that he was a spy for Russia to investigate his entire life. They didn't do that to Paul Gambetta. They didn't subpoena his records to see what his communications were when he decided to delete this shit. Why?
I don't know, but again, yeah, I do think that I don't think that they are evenly low level. I think that when we're talking about a tech
Let's assume they're not. Let's assume the tech guy's a
who
1 out of 10.
like
Let's assume they're not. This is such a bullshit excuse.
They already
This is
have
such bullshit.
information. No, hold on. They already have information on these people that makes them believe that they are complicit in a crime before they're doing this. Whereas with
Same with Paul
Gambetta,
Gambetta.
they don't have any information on him.
That's
Yes.
absolute bullshit.
What did they have on Gambetta that made them think that he
Did
was
they know that a
complicit in
crime had been?
before giving him immunity?
Did they know that a crime had been committed when they talked to Gambetta?
Yes, but not that the emails had been deleted. They
No,
knew that
they
there
did
were
know that.
emails
Yes,
were-
they exactly knew that, which is why they were talking to Gambetta. They absolutely knew at that point that the crime of deleting the subpoenaed emails had been committed. They also knew that there was only 2 or 3 tech people that possibly could have done it. They also, when they interviewed, they knew that he was acting fishy and said the agents that interviewed him said they were quite certain he was lying, which is also a crime.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to take your word for it. I might have to refresh on this because this is a long time ago. So yeah, I will take your word
But
for it.
all of this is it's all just sort of like, well, wait a minute, maybe there's a little level in a little difference in the level of the authority they had, or maybe like it's just all anyone who's remotely objectively looking at this could see the bullshit. You could see it.
Well, no, just to be clear, I do think that there was just a lot of weird shit that went on with the
Shit.
with the Russiagate because yeah, like we talked about the fact that none of the people who wrote the illegal FISA warrants. None of them were charged or arrested. The fact that there were a bunch of people who were giving like the whole like tarmac meeting with Clinton was weird as fuck. What was that, Comey at the time who was doing that? Like there was just a bunch of weird shit that yes, it's all like it all seems like there's something else that could have been going on, and for some reason it we don't have a whole lot of information on it.
Yeah, well, I think that it's clear. You asked me evidence of double standards in lawfare. I think it's blatant to see when it came to specifically those things, the obstruction of justice, mishandling of classified documents. That's what you asked me about. I think I provided it. You're forced to be like, I have to look into it more. You can't give a cogent answer. You admit based on everything that you admitted before. And this is why I get you to admit things first, because I know what the answer is going to be. You're always going to equivocate. If I would just to say to you, if I would have started saying this, like, well, I thought that there was, when there was obstruction of justice from Hillary's team, that they should have charged her, but the FBI said that their hands were tied because they gave people immunity, you would say, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's the reason. But when we go step by step through it, you can see, just like when we went step by step through the Biden, Trump showed it. He told people he had it. Yeah, Biden did that even worse. Yeah, I guess it wouldn't be cooperating if you knew about it and didn't hand it in. Well, that's exactly what Biden did. Oh, I'm sorry, I misheard you. Like, get the fuck out of here. At some point, it's like, it's clear what you're doing. You're working backwards. You're like, there wasn't a double standard, and so I'm going to work backwards. And you're just waiting until...
Hold on. Hold on. I first off, I didn't vote for Hillary. I don't like Hillary.
I don't give a shit about that. That means
nothing.
nothing. You hate Trump.
Well, you're acting... Sure, but that doesn't. I can admit to a double standard for people that I don't give a fuck about, and that I think, yeah, they should have been arrested too. Now, also, Trump should still be arrested. I don't have. That would be much easier for me.
Audience, you hear this?
Working backwards, because that would be so much fucking easier for me. So I'm saying I'm not working backwards. I have no reason to defend these people unnecessarily, and so that's why I'm not going to twist myself into a pretzel. And I would rather say, yeah, maybe I need to read back up on this because I don't remember. I don't think that's ridiculous considering this stuff happened in 2016, like 8 years ago. Like, yeah, it was a while
audience,
ago. Yeah,
I talked to my audience because a caller called in today and I said verbatim that this is what happens over and over when I debate people on the left. They do this. Their political central core belief is I hate Trump. And there's thousands of Democratic politicians that are interchangeable. You don't give a shit. You'd throw any of them under the bus. Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Kamala. You don't give a fuck. As long as but we still have to get Trump. That's your core belief. So what will happen will be, you assume that I'm defending Trump. I'm not. If we want to say people that mishandle classified documents should spend 10 years in jail, cool, then send them all. The problem I have is with the double standard. The real villain isn't Hillary Clinton. It's not Joe Biden. It's not even Paul Gambetta. The real villain is the FBI and investigators that engage in a double standard. So if your argument is, oh, well, I don't even like Hillary, I didn't vote for Hillary, so it's like, I don't care if she can go to jail. Yes! Then the question becomes, why isn't she? Why are you continuing to support an FBI that engaged in that double standard?
Well, I don't know that I am. Comey is gone. That's not the same FBI.
What were the consequences that they suffered? FBI. He's replaced by another guy, Ray, that feels the same way?
Yeah, none.
Right.